So the topics that we're going to touch on today is four things. Firstly, why your company? So what is your EVP and why is it relevant? Secondly, on the sourcing side of things, where are these candidates? Where's the perfect place to go fishing for techies? And then once you've found those people, how are you going to build your talent pools and your talent pipelines? And then the fourth topic is going to be the actual process itself of once you've found the people, you've got them interested in your company, how do you progress them through from being a candidate into an applicant into a hire? Because we're a technical company, we absolutely love using GIFs. So we use Slack as our internal tool, among many other tools. So I'm going to be using quite a number of GIFs during this presentation. So off we go. So the first thing I want to do is actually ask you what your experience is at the moment. So Natasha, hopefully you're ready to trigger the poll in Zoom. Interested here in what proportion of your time is currently spent on proactive sourcing? So we'll just give this 30 seconds, 45 seconds to pick an option. Is it a tiny amount? Is it some of the time, most of the time, or is it almost everything you do? I'm hoping here that there's a good proportion of time from respondents here on proactive sourcing. So yeah, let's see what the results are.
I'll give it another 10 seconds, and then I'll share the results with you.
Okie dokie. So I've got a feeling that if we asked the second question of how much time would you like to spend on proactive sourcing, my guess is it's going to be a higher proportion than what people actually report that they do. But it's going to be interesting to see those results.
Right, I'll end the polling and you should be able to see the results now.
Okay, right. So the biggest answer there is about half of the time. So 44% of people, half. 26% of people, the majority of my time. So I think that's more positive than perhaps I was expecting. And only a tiny amount, just 11% down there. So the majority of people are spending at least half the time on proactive sourcing. So I think that's pretty encouraging for us. So before we get into the topic, I'll just do a very quick introduction to Tribepad. So we are a talent acquisition suite. So that's a software platform comprising applicant tracking system, onboarding, video interviewing, CRM, chatbots. We're also launching a new sourcing tool in January, so very relevant to this. Used by generally medium-sized, larger organizations all over the world, and we've grown by recommendation over the last 10 years primarily. So some very well-known organizations use Tribepad, and we're really proud to partner with some very large organizations, generally where they have very specific requirements, perhaps high levels of configuration, or there's complexity in the business, which standard off-the-shelf pieces of software just can't handle. Potentially also looking for more attentive service levels than perhaps some of the global big software behemoths who just can't deliver that level of tailored support and service. So we work with clients who generally have a combination of volume and specialist proactive recruitment. One thing we're really proud of, we launched a new platform called Tribepad Flex recently, and this is a freelance management system. Lots of recruiters at the moment, particularly because of COVID, working with a combination of contractors, freelancers, and employees. We're seeing that shift towards total workforce management. So the BBC use our platform for all of their off-screen talent. So whether you're a runner on the One Show, a camera operator, swimming under the Arctic for Attenborough, they all find their roles through BBC Talent Cloud, which is powered by Tribepad. But it's also used by quite a lot of professional services firms and IT firms to manage day rate contractors. And I think what's interesting about this is it's very easy to just go tech talent, okay, that means a developer. But of course, it could be a camera operator, a train driver, it could be somebody with specialist manufacturing skills, as well as DBAs and developers. So, we're really looking to frame the problem as how to hire scarce or highly skilled talent. Obviously, and today, that's specifically about tech talent. So let's think about your candidates, who you're looking for, and really important to think about this from the candidate's perspective. They've got a limited number of years that they're able to work, so their time is precious. Money is very likely not to be their main motivator. They want to do something that they care about and are interested in. Yeah, of course they want to get paid, and they're probably going to get paid pretty well. But think about, does your vision match theirs? Have you got something really that you can offer? the way we look at it is technical people are essentially creative problem solvers. So we often advise our clients to think really hard about how important certain types of experience is. Is it absolutely essential somebody's got 5 years in this particular language? Or is it more important that they've got collaborative problem solving skills and some creativity? So I think it's about being realistic, what you're looking for and why the candidate should care about you. I'll give you an example where it will take you through our approach to this as a tech company. So we have always worked on the methodology of people first, product second, and profit third. What we mean by that is we hire smart people, we reward them well, we give them lots of autonomy and an interesting mission, loads of freedom to do that. And what results from that is you get people who build great product and deliver great service, so that in turn, that will turn into happy customers and we'll make some money along the way. So one of the things that we really talk about when we're hiring technical people is the mission that we're on, using some really cutting edge technologies to help some of the world's most well-known organizations, using AI, using video. We invest 25% of our revenue in R&D, for example. So when we're looking to hire techies, we talk to them about being a challenger company, going head to head with Workday and SAP and Oracle and smart recruiters, and being a small business taking on the world, really getting them behind that mission. Something else we've done recently, which we're really proud of, is launch what we're calling our ethical manifesto. So we're a proudly carbon negative company. So any carbon that we produce in our business, in our data centers, our office, our commuting, we offset by 200%. So we overcompensate. We're also in the process of going back and planting 50,000 trees, which we've done already, planting trees to cover all of the carbon we've ever produced in the last 12 years. We also then work with an organization called Kiva, who deliver loans and grants to small businesses and individuals around the world to help lift themselves out of poverty. And of course, we work with lots of local charities as well. We're absolutely committed to equality, diversity as well. So not just from our own team, making sure that our own employees represent the community that we're in here in South Yorkshire, but that our clients can use our technology to achieve their goals in ED&I in terms of making the recruitment process fair and clearing some of those injustices that have happened in the past and still happen in the recruitment process. So if I then take a couple of examples from some of our clients. So we work with Serco all across Europe. They hire a lot of very specialist technical roles into European government organizations, including the European Space Agency. So, if you're working on projects that exciting, it's actually not that difficult to make your roles look really good. So what I'd say is, it's important that your EVP is engaging, you're using video, you're making it look exciting, but it's important to be really specific. What projects are people going to work on? What languages are they going to be working in? You don't want a load of generic, boring text. It's about being explicit and making it look interesting and enticing, I would say. So, assuming you've got your EVP sorted, where do we go looking for this perfect tech talent? So, of course, there's lots of different kinds of tech talent, so there's many different places to search. In our experience, standard job boards are pretty much a waste of time looking for technical staff. LinkedIn's of some use. It's not particularly well used in a lot of technical circles. It's a lot of hard work. You have to do a lot of effort to really nurture relationships. You've got to have something really easy to say so that you're not just seen as a spammy recruiter, okay? Now, obviously, there are quite a few specialist technical job boards out there. We don't see our clients generally investing very heavily. Where there are free to post services, they're useful and you might get lucky in there. But generally speaking, we think that sort of advertising doesn't work particularly well. What we see for ourselves and our clients working much more often is going to specific technical communities and specific technical forums. So it could be GitHub or Stack Overflow. And really engaging in those communities, looking into interesting projects, looking for interesting people who are contributing or putting comments or answering questions or improving projects. And this is really hard for recruiters to do because you have to be authentic. So this is something your hiring managers need to do. They need to speak the language, they need to understand it, and you need to guide them in the process of how to do it, because you can't fake this very easily. You're either part of that community or you're not. Talking of being part of community, back in peacetime, there were loads of face-to-face networking events for all kinds of different technical communities. So again, we would encourage your hiring managers to get out there and participate in these community events. Perhaps sponsor an event, perhaps set a challenge at a hackathon or something like that. Maybe give away some freebies. Got to be a little bit careful there. I think in our experience, techies are pretty skeptical of giveaways. But what about a lock-picking kit or something like that? Think about the creative, challenging mindset you're looking for. Maybe host your own events. Something else that we think is really important is engaging with your local community. So engage with the schools, the colleges, and participate in events there. Offer internships, offer paid work experience. This is very much a case of you will reap what you sow. So a couple of examples. Arnus on the left here in black and white, he actually joined us on Monday. He was a student at Sheffield University. We happened to go and do a presentation about user experience about 6 months ago. As a result of COVID, he's decided that he now wants to take a year out, and he's now joined us as a developer. Tom on the right, also at Sheffield University, which is where we're based. He's a PhD student, and we're sponsoring him through his PhD. He's working on artificial intelligence and neuro-linguistic programming, and how those two worlds collide, the potential to match people to skills to jobs. So about 25% of the technical staff in our company have actually studied in Sheffield and then come either directly to Tribepad or perhaps worked one other place and then come to Tribepad. So it's something that has definitely worked for us, and we see no reason why it wouldn't work for you as well. Okay, so if we've got people a little further along the track, let's talk about who's already in your talent acquisition suite. Existing candidates who've applied for other roles, perhaps they've been a silver medalist, not successful, they were a strong candidate. Make it easy for those people to get job alerts. Make it easy so that you're contacting them when an opportunity is coming up. And what I would say is the #1 source of tech talent candidates should be your existing staff. That should be the place that you go first to nurture your pipeline of staff into new talent tech roles. Okay, so let's go into the latter half. Everybody's ideal is to have a pipeline of talent that's ready to go and warmed up. Software engineers, and indeed lots of people with technical skills, they're in high demand. They're pretty unlikely to be out of work. So you've got to do the work. It's definitely about being proactive. And we go back to the poll right at the start. It's really encouraging to actually see that most people are spending at least half of their time already being proactive and reaching out. So that's fantastic. If you were in the latter, the early area of that survey earlier, where you're spending the minority of your time doing it, this is something where you've got to plan to do it. Otherwise, you fall into that trap of a reactive salary arms race and really high agency fees. So this really is a case of build a plan and start right now, because it will reap rewards in the future. So some of our clients use things like landing pages and pop-up campaigns to recruit for specific roles. This is actually just an example of a seasonal campaign in retail. But the same principles apply in terms of having easy landing pages with tracking, links through into your applicant tracking system so you can see where these candidates came from. And it's important to have a really light touch here. A really simple process, some nice engaging videos, make it easy for people to come into the process and understand what you are doing. Because the last thing you want to do is spend months nurturing a relationship with somebody and then start landing them on a process that's designed for volume recruitment. Is really off-putting, and that person is just lost at that point, and you fail to convert that candidate into an applicant. It was really interesting to hear from Sam in the previous session, talking about how powerful referral is as a tool. So we would absolutely definitely recommend having a reward scheme and a referral process in place for your staff. I think what we'd also encourage hiring managers to do is to think about their own personal networks. Who have they worked with before? Who can they call on to recommend a certain person with a certain skill set? Because referral is incredibly powerful in terms of having a high quality of candidate coming into the process. So assuming the candidate is there and you've got a good level of conversation going, you need to nurture that talent, use the CRM functionality within your talent acquisition suite, use two-way email to get a conversation going, don't use the dreaded no reply at companyname.com, awful. You can use SMS. What we'd say here is, think like a marketer. If you haven't read the book called Permission Marketing by Seth Godin, go and read it. It's all about permission marketing, and it's about using your communication sparingly and where you have buy-in. It's got to be valuable. You don't want to come across as a spammy recruiter that people are going to turn off to. Okay, so we've got the candidate. How do we now get them into the process? What comes next? So, as I said, you've got to keep it simple. Remember, you're chasing them. Don't force them through an awful assessment process. If you spent 3 months courting them, the last thing you want to do is say, great, thanks for all of that. Now fill in these 54 forms, do a 3-hour interview, and this, invest all your time in this. They're just going to bounce and go somewhere else because that first impression of your company is going to be poor. So, of course, video interviewing is a really accessible way of reaching people at the moment where we can't meet face to face. So, of course, lots and lots of people are using live video interviewing. An awful lot of companies are just using Zoom or Microsoft Teams or Hangouts or whatever. The problem with that is you've got very little control over the data. There is security concerns with those sorts of tools. Some organizations block them altogether. Really, you want a specialist tool which is set up for recruitment, where you can record the interviews in a secure place, have them evidenced for later. You get a transcript from speech into text as well that you can record and search on. It's also important that you don't want to introduce friction into the process. You want candidates to have to download a specific app or a specific piece of software. It just needs to work. And of course, with good recruitment video interviewing software, as I say, you get that transcript of the text so that you can search it, but you can also invite, of course, multiple people in for panel interviews. Now, this is really important from a technical point of view, because a tool that's very often used in tech recruiting, and we certainly do, is to have live pair programming or programming challenges. And so one of the things that you can do with video interviewing is you can have that conversation with somebody while you're sharing files with them, while you're sharing screens with them. So you can potentially have a recruiter, a hiring manager, and somebody from the team they're going to work with all on the call at the same time and collaborating in a peer programming challenge. Now, what a fantastic way, A, to assess their technical skills, and B, to understand how they're actually going to work and respond in a team environment, because that's what we need. Now, you should recognize this chap. This is Hung Lee, who's a recruiting superstar and celebrity across the industry. Tribepad had our client forum last week. We have about 100 of our clients joining us online for all kinds of different stuff. One of the sessions that we were running was specifically about proactive hiring for tech talent. Hung actually came up with a really interesting example of Basecamp. So if you haven't come across Basecamp, it's like online project management tool, software as a service thing. They have a policy of never hiring anybody without them having completed a contract first. So what they'll typically do is either people are applying to the role or they're specifically, proactively searching for talent, and they will offer a 3, 6, 9, maybe even 12-month contract. So I believe what Basecamp do is offer a 3-month contract. If you're successful on that, they'll offer a 12-month contract and then only give you a full-time role after that. Now, that approach might be too extreme, particularly if your organization isn't as well known for technology as somebody like Basecamp. But what we'd suggest is putting a twist on that and actually using some of the gig economy platforms out there to offer out small projects to different people and actually assess them on a real life problem. Now, you might get somebody to perhaps invest an hour of their time in a coding challenge as part of recruitment, but nobody's going to go and spend 3, 6, 12 hours doing this. So, make these paid projects because you'll get far more traction in terms of making these a source of people to hire. And then, if they do a great job, excellent. You found your next candidate. You can start that relationship. So I'm going to leave you with 4 takeaway points. So first of all, as I said at the beginning, start with your EVP, make sure you've got an enticing story, but be realistic about what you're offering and why people should care about it. It's great that more than 2/3 of people on the call are already spending at least half their time being proactive. But if you're not, you've got to make the plan and you've got to start and do it now. And it does take time to build up those relationships with credibility. This can't be a recruitment only process. You have to have your hiring managers on board. So, while you can use the technology in your talent acquisition suite to generate landing pages and track referrals and two-way emails through your CRM process, it all requires nurturing, and you need the hiring managers on board to do that with you. And then finally, once you've got the perfect candidate, don't put them off with a horrible, inflexible process that's designed for the volume side of your business. You are going to be judged by this candidate on the process you put them through and the technology you use. So if it's horrible and clunky and spreadsheet based, they're not going to be very favorable towards working with you from a technology point of view. We're a really sociable team. We would love to chat in the networking sessions today. Jason is also going to be hosting a roundtable later on about how to manage equality, diversity, and inclusion when sourcing, attracting, and retaining the best tech talent. So I hope some of you can join us there for that. And then, because you can never have too many gifts in a presentation, I just want to wish everybody good luck. We're counting on you. It's incredibly competitive out there. So thank you very much. I hope that was useful and enjoyable. Natasha, very, very happy to take any questions.